In 2021, more than $15 billion will be spent on influencer marketing by big brands and your portfolio companies. But what if I told you that a third of that spend, or $5 billion, will be lost to ineffective and fraudulent influencers? And what if I told you that our data at Kyndoo could take the guesswork out of what influencers would lead to the highest ROI? Hi, I'm Kelly McDonald, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kyndoo. And we've built predictive intelligence for social commerce. Here's how we do it. Kyndoo's analyzed the profiles of more than 80 million follower accounts. Our system knows if they're real people or fake bots. And our proprietary AI understands which influencers they follow and what content they're interested in. We're capturing every paid post on the major social networks, and we track their performance. Our Know Your Audience database scores influencers for authenticity and engagement, while also providing brands with data attribution that goes beyond the swipe. And our 14-point content safety check looks for posts containing profanity, nudity, violence, divisive language, or sensitive social topics, giving brands more control over how their dollars are spent and helps them avoid working with those who are #fake famous or worse. Now, brands of all sizes are already trusting our data, including large enterprise brands like PillPack and Minted, and emerging direct-to-consumer companies like Pluto and California Olive Ranch. We're growing at more than 30% month over month, and we launched our data and AI products last April. We've already onboarded more than 35 paying customers, leveraging several different revenue models, and we're averaging about 15K a month in revenue. Our North Star is to help brands plug into our data and ultimately predict which influencers will drive commerce. Now, we see influencer marketing as our wedge into the global predictive analytics market. And getting there is going to require an experienced team. We can do it. Get it, Kyndoo? I'm sure you're laughing at home. Anyway, Jen and I are the perfect founder duo. I'm a sales and operations expert with a track record in building high-performing teams from scratch and a background in data-driven marketing. And Jen is a data and AI genius. He's a 3-time founder with 1 exit and was the chief architect at OpenX, the world's 2nd largest ad exchange platform. Together over the past year, we've onboarded a team of trusted former colleagues. We're currently raising our seed round. We've already raised $500K from incredible VCs like 500 Startups, where we were a member of the Batch 26, and Atlan Ventures. We also have some amazing angels in the round like Gangels and Bin Yang, who's a managing director at CV Capital. As underrepresented founders, we're extremely interested in bringing in capital from underrepresented investors into our rounds. So if you're interested in the future of social commerce, come talk to us. Sure. So let me start with the end client from the brand side, and then we can talk about the influencer side too. I think that'll be the best way to go about it. So the brand who wants to hire an influencer, right? Generally speaking, their customer journey has probably begun where they already have attempted to do this on their own and are a little overwhelmed with, they've hired somebody and it just didn't work. Usually one of the folks we speak to is like, I've paid a lot of money into this and I didn't get any results. Usually the very first thing we do is we show them our flagship product, which is called the Kindex report. The Kindex report shows them all the data around the influencer's audience. And one of the things that we see is like, wow, that person's entire audience is fake, right? Or they're all in India and your product's only available in the United States. Like if someone can't buy your product, it doesn't matter if they see it, right? You're not going to get that conversion. And so that's usually how the customer journey starts. We educate them on what they should have been looking for that they cannot see. And it's not their fault. This data is locked away. It's not structured. And the way our tech stack works is to break into that, that data and show you what's actually there behind what you can visually see on the social networks. From there, once they've kind of said, this is the audience I'm looking for and this is who we do, we then connect them and show them influencers that would make sense for them. On the influencer side, the journey is a little bit different. Our technology scores any influencer in the world, so a brand can look up anyone directly, but on top of it, influencers are able to come and sign up on our platform, leverage the tools we've created for them to share with brands that maybe they're doing outreach to prove their authenticity and get reviews, things like that. So it's also really helpful. So the influencers, we're trying to create a good economy around the creator economy instead of just, be a proprietor of poverty like most of our competitors out there.
Oh, awesome. And what if someone like had like an issue with, on the influencer side, right? Like if your system came up with something that they, felt like judged them poorly or something like that, what kind of arbitration tools do they have available to them?
Yeah, so they can definitely reach out to us. We often have influencers who say like, "Hey, I didn't know that this was what was going on, and my score is, not great." So we can give them some definitely great advice to say like, "Listen, the fact remains, like 80% of your followers are fake, right? Like that's not something that we did or that we're scoring. It's fact." And so if they're all fake bots, here's some tips and tools on what you can do to go remove them. Other cases have been like, well, my whole audience is in Portugal because I'm originally from Portugal. Well, that's cool. But a brand paying you to promote a product only available here in the US, like that's fact. If your audience isn't there, it's not there. Again, like location won't affect your score, but like performance of when you post something that's a branded content and it doesn't get any engagement, that is a factual event that happened and we're just reporting on those facts. We can give you tips, tools, and ideas on how to create better content from what we see. But again, we're just out there, we're the referee, we're not a creative ad agency, and we're just letting people both figure out like what they can do to be more authentic as well then if it's an influencer side.
Great, awesome. And kind of a last question here, and I think probably one that any potential investor is kind of asking, like what do you think you'll be using the funds for? From your
so it's a great question. So it's a little bit split into like three pieces of the pie. One is we're really going towards a predictive outcome. So we need to have that technology and development towards that prediction. But to also do that, we need to build out the business development team. I've currently been like the main salesperson on the team, and we have folks who are in the seats, trying to help out in that space, but have other full jobs too. So we need to build out that team to bring in more business to get ultimately to the prediction. So that's the other big chunk of where that will go. And then the third slice of that will be, general operational budget to hire like support and, accountants, stuff like that within the company as well too.
Hi, my name is Youngwon Lee. I'm the founder and CEO of Asian-inspired craft brewery, Dokkaebier. Craft beer lovers are always thirsty for something new, but over 8,000 breweries in the country are mostly focused on traditional flavors. Dokkaebier is the first craft beer infused with Asian flavors and spices that Americans have come to love. We use ingredients like bamboo leaves, black tea, lemongrass and peppercorn, yuzu and bay leaf, tamarind and passion fruit, and even kimchi culture to make our beer. Craft beer is a $27 billion market in the US alone. And yes, we are pretty snobby about our beer, and yet no one is marketing to us 90 million Asian Americans. We are positioned to take advantage of this huge opportunity, growing Dokkaebier as a brand and bridging the Western and Asian markets, exposing both to flavors yet to be discovered. For the past 13 years, I have worked in beer and wine and spirits. I've managed global brands such as Tito's, Patron, and Jay-Z's Ace of Space in South Korea, and launched a craft brewery here in the US. For years, I built Western brands in the East. With my diverse and international experience, I built a very unique taste and vision of my own to disrupt the market. And I feel proud to bring you a little bit of East to the West this time. And this is what America is to me. We launched in February of 2020, and then the world changed. But our story did not end, and our hustle continues. Since then, we've done over $430,000 in sales in California alone. We are a pre-seed company raising $300,000 to make more beer so we can market and expand outside of California. So, depending on where you're from, our flavors will either take you on a journey to the far side of the earth, or if you're Asian like me, take you on a journey back home. Thank you.
All right, great pitch, Youngwon. Great to have you here. Yeah, would really love to listen. What is your like big strategy going into, 21 and 2022, especially given, COVID gave you a lot of problems beforehand, and now you're kind of getting, a kind of a clean slate, hopefully, as things open up. What kind of changes in your strategy there?
I think the biggest challenge that we had was we opened right into COVID. And as a consumer product, the customer interaction is the most important as a key strategy to, our brand. And as well as because we're providing such a unique experience, it was very important to, us. And it was heavily limited by just, running Facebook ads, Instagram, and going on a digital, a virtual viral campaigns. But now that things are opening up and there are new beer festival coming up, getting lined up for the fall. I am very excited to be, out there pouring some beer for everyone. So actually, people can taste and experience our brand for the first time, and that way we could actually spread our flavor, and as well as our concept.
Well, awesome, and it I think might be a burning question for a lot of folks, right? But your customers right now, how are they, reacting to the taste? Like how has your customer feedback really been?
Yeah, it's been some people just love it. Some people say, "Hey, I actually like this flavor, but this one is maybe it's not for me." So we have a product line that's an experimental beer that we just test out every month, and there's a core lineup that we regularly produce. And I think people really generally support us for what we're doing, just for the fact that we're bringing something totally new. And I get randomly an email from a customer saying that, "Hey, my wife doesn't drink beer, but she drinks yours. Can you please remake this flavor?" And those are the comments that I get, and that makes my day.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And what in your opinion, I don't think some of your brand kind of goes into like Asian culinary, arts as a whole, right? So what would pair best with your beer, would you say?
Um, hmm. I think it depends on who you're drinking it with.
Yeah.
The food is important, but it's also the people and whatnot. So now that things are opening up, I think anything and everything will taste better.
Well, that's awesome. And I think when you were talking about your experimental beers and those types of things, right? When you're creating like a new beer flavor, what informs that? And, kind of what comes first in your mind? Kind of the tastes of the beer, the customer reactions to it, the margins. I'd love to hear your thought process around that.
Uh, I So usually when I experimented with these, I just go to a biggest grocery store and I check out every single aisle. So my wife thinks I'm weird because I'm a guy and then likes to check every single ingredient. I look at cereal packaging to, kombucha to any kind of food or any kind of a grocery section. I check all the flavors. And if there's any flavor that I don't know, I just try to taste it, buy it, and experience it. And always think about how can I translate this experience to the beer? How can I do something different? How can I offer something that's creative? And so I get inspiration from day to day, but what I envision is always from the customer's perspective. How are they going to like it? How are they going to experience it? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be good? Is it going to bring your nostalgia, something from your memory from childhood?
Yeah, and I think a couple last questions. We have a question from the audience, and they're asking, are you using influencers? So kind of maybe a brief discussion into your influencer strategy.
After this pitch, I'm going to have a meeting with Kelly. That's what's going
Well,
but yeah, we've been meeting with influencers. They find it interesting because a lot of influencers, they need some fresh content, right? And our beer is something that they've never heard about or experienced or even featured. So I think we just need to have a better sort of go-to-market strategy with these influencers, and maybe with the help of Kelly, and do more of a mass scale outreach.
Well, that's awesome. I love making these connections and all that good stuff. So, Ronak, you might want to prepare because I'm sure this question is going to come up to you. But last question for you, young Juan. Your Wefunder campaigns, if someone is contributing money to you, let's say, some ethereal number, $1,000, that's added additionally, where's that money going?
From this pitch?
From the campaign. From
the campaign.
Well, hopefully the $1,000 will pad it a little.
We're definitely going to try to work with Kelly to boost up our influencer marketing. But with the help from everyone else through this crowdfunding campaign, we are trying to expand our distribution. We're currently only available in California at a very limited scale. So I think we've tested our product market fit until now, and it's been pretty positive. And I think it's now for time for us to hire more teammates so we could scale up within California as well as out of state. So that's our goal for our next milestone.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Young-won, for participating. Next up, we have Ronak with MedCoShare.
My name is Ronak Vyas, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of MedCoShare. MedCoShare is Philadelphia's first healthcare co-sharing space. So we provide flexible and affordable office solutions to healthcare and wellness practitioners. There's a variety of healthcare practitioners that would be a perfect fit for MedCoShare. Your pediatricians, family physicians, even other wellness practices like massage therapy, acupuncture, podiatry is also a good fit. The goal of MedCoShare is to solve the current problem for many healthcare practitioners, which is if they want real estate space to practice in, they have to sign long-term leases, pay large security deposits, provide personal guarantees, and what we do is the complete opposite. We provide part-time and full-time spaces on a monthly basis without any security deposits and without any fit-out costs.
MedCoShare is very important to me because it fills the need for physicians that are starting off, businesses that want to get started in the healthcare industry. It just gives an opportunity for people to start their own practice and work on their own time. My dad was a physician, a radiologist, and he started his own practice. And when he did that, I saw the high costs that were incurred, the long-term leases, the more time he had to put in, and MedCoShare can alleviate all those issues for someone starting off. And if it was there for him when he started his own practice, it would have been a much better option, so we'd have more time to spend with him. MedCoShare is filling the gap in the market. Shared office space has been around for many years. However, no one's been catering to the medical and healthcare practitioners. So we're filling that gap in the market that doesn't exist today, and we're the first in Philadelphia to start that kind of a practice.
The main benefit to healthcare providers is that they can get started from day one. We take care of all the operational responsibilities. They don't have to worry about any additional bills or medical waste removal or even cleaning after they're done for the day. When we were looking for a location, we wanted to be in a strategic location that catered not only to the neighborhood, but also to the city at large. What we like about this neighborhood is the amount of retail, amount of restaurants that are nearby, and also the lack of healthcare providers that are in the area, which doesn't support the many families that have moved into the neighborhood. We have 10 offices, 8 are clinical exam rooms, and 2 offices are designated for office use. We feel it's necessary to expand because we see a growing need of practitioners needing flexible spaces around the country. We've seen this open in several other cities, and we like to compare this to where urgent care centers were when they started in the 1970s. The funding is going to be used for the expansion to more locations in Philadelphia, DC, New York, and Boston. And that's what our goal is for the next 2 years. Within the next 5 to 10 years, we want to be in every single major metropolitan city in the US. I think any investor that sees the trends in healthcare, especially with all the consolidation of major hospitals and groups buying out smaller and solo practitioners, along with the rising cost of real estate, will see the demand and need for locations like ours.
This opportunity made sense to me both as a physician as well as an investor. Having gone through med school and training and trying to figure out what you're going to do as your next step, looking at practices, buying practices, majority of the times you have to get locked into major long-term contracts, 5-10 years, where you're not sure if your practice is going to get established and whether you're going to be successful in that practice. This gives you the flexibility to be able to manage your time, manage your investment, manage your resources without taking on a huge liability.
We're interested in speaking with any investor that wants to learn more about not only the idea, but us as well. We think there's great potential in this opportunity, and we see this already happening in other cities and people launching healthcare co-sharing in other cities. So we want to be the first company to be nationwide. We hope you invest with us so we can shape the future of healthcare real estate together.
All right, Ronak, great pitch. I hope you don't mind if I ask you kind of a topical question, right? With COVID-19, and obviously, I feel like that question's coming, right? Can you talk a little bit about how your spaces address those kind of topical issues right now?
Yeah, so once people started getting vaccinated, the demand for healthcare co-sharing spaces have gone up. We're getting demand from groups like estheticians and people in the beauty and wellness category, because people have more disposable income, and if you can't do your international trip or do a great vacation, maybe you want to go for a massage, maybe you want to get some cosmetic procedures done. So we've actually had a boom in certain types of services because of COVID and because of the pandemic. I mean, it was definitely difficult when we launched last year, but as soon as people started getting vaccinated, it's been a complete 180.
Awesome. And, kind of bouncing off of the question about COVID, right? I think there was a big move towards telehealth, right? And that more and more people were looking to kind of engage with their doctors and health professionals kind of remotely. How do you see that dynamic working with your current company?
Sure. So we actually don't see telehealth as competition. It's actually benefited us. So we have a doctor right now that's a pediatric cardiologist, and she takes her telehealth appointments from our office. So she rents one of the rooms part-time, and then she comes in and she sees patients there. And then she also has the ability to see patients at our space as well. So this gives you flexible options to be able to do both. If you're doing a telehealth appointment elsewhere, let's say for your home, for example, it can also get lonely sometimes, right? And that's why I think some people prefer co-sharing spaces, because you're meeting with other individuals just like yourself. There's a network, and some people, like getting out of the house and doing that. So I don't see telehealth, increase in telehealth as competition. I actually see that as a complementary service to what we're doing.
Well, that's great. And, I think that with a lot of things when people are going to the doctor and, with the ability to kind of think hey, the grand vision in the future is that, hey, there's a MedCoShare here and probably there's going to be some awesome medical professional there. Do you see yourself kind of creating some form of directory service for your for the end consumers?
So we are, and what we like to do is we like to have a good mix of practitioners, and especially if it's a complementary mix. So for example, if you have a family doctor who's a member of our space, any specialist would benefit from them being there as well. So for example, cardiologist, even dermatologist, podiatrist, all these kind of funnel into each other depending on what the issues are. In our space right now, we have not only a cardiologist, but also a pediatric cardiologist. We also have a men's health group. We have a couple of estheticians, and we also have a lady that does waxing. So it's a great mix of tenants. And we kind of see that everywhere we go. Every location, we see it'll be really beneficial to have a mix of tenants. And I think patients will like that as well. So for example, if you're coming in to see your family doctor, and a dermatologist is right down the hall, or a massage therapist is right down the hall, you can take care of 2 appointments, at once.
Okay, great. And I think I've already warned you that this question's coming, but for your Wefunder campaign, if someone were to contribute into it, right, where can they expect their money what their money will be used for?
Yeah, it's a great question, George. We really want to focus on growth. The great news with our space right now is that we're in the net positive in our first location, so it pays for itself. So we're not looking to raise money for operational things. It's really for the growth of more locations and everything that comes along with it, which is going to be payroll as our second biggest expense. But we've already eyed a second location and third location. We're going to be signing a lease on our second location fairly soon. We really want to be a regional player, dominate the Philadelphia region for now, but our goal is to go nationwide. So to do that, we need to raise, an additional, I would say, $500,000 to kind of open all the locations we need to in this region. We raised a little over $335,000 on Wefunder right now. So we're getting, closer and closer as, as time goes along. But ideally, we want to go do a Series A round, Series B round, and be the first nationwide player. Right now, there are other companies that do what we do, but there's no brand recognition. There's nobody that has multiple locations in different states. Everyone is basically a regional player, or they're a one-off at this point.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Ronak, for participating. Great Q&A. Right now, I'm going to put in the chat real quick a type form where people can basically vote for who they basically like between the three awesome companies that pitched today. We had Kelly at Kyndoo, Youngwon at Dokkaebier, and Ronak at MedCoShare. So all of them really strong, great companies. I love them all. I wish I could give a prize to every single one of them. Right now, we're going to keep the voting open until I'll give it to 5:40, so that's been 5 minutes. But in the meanwhile, kind of have maybe some follow-on Q&A and maybe some questions so that I can come up with my own decision here, right? And I think that this question is, kind of a really good bog standard investor question, but is also really revealing. And it's that in 10 years, where do you guys see yourself, right? And so, I think let's go in reverse order of who started their pitch off. So, Ronak, I'll give that question to you. In 10 years, where do you see MedCoShare?
So in 10 years, we want to be a nationwide player. We want to have locations in every major urban and growth market. Our typical size is between 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, and that can accommodate between 20 and 25 rooms based on the layout. With that amount of space, we can fit 20 to 30 members at each location, depending on whether they get a full-time membership. That means they get their own room and they can access it full-time. There's part-time memberships, so they can rent it 1 or 2 days a week. So with a variety of types, the variety of memberships, we can get between 20 and 30 members for each location. So we definitely want to, expand outside of Philadelphia, and we've already highlighted about 25 key markets that we want to go to next. But within 10 years, our goal is to not only be in these locations, but we want to have a kind of a marketing playbook for practitioners. So if you're a brand new private practice, you can hire us to do your marketing and get patients and customers. So it's going to be an all-in turnkey solution for anybody in the health and wellness space. When they come to us, they can sign up month to month. We'll do the marketing for them. We'll get them busy, and they don't need to go anywhere else.
Well, awesome. Next to you, Youngwon, I'll extend the same question. In 10 years, where is Dokkaebier?
So in 10 years, I would expect that we'll be available for anyone to purchase online throughout the states, and it will be available distribution. You should be able to drink our beer throughout the states. I'm also having an opportunity to kind of explore exporting our beer outside of the states. So we'll definitely develop that. And as we go down the road, I think with my past background, we should be able to introduce something other than beer as well, whether it's wine or spirits. And I already have some projects going on at the moment. And then definitely, I would like to bring in some Korean food to the beer scene as well. So I would like to open up offline spaces throughout the country, and finally have something other than pizza and burgers.
I love it. I love it. Hopefully free samples for a lot of folks, right?
Definitely come by.
And Kelly, I'll leave the best for last, maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, so I think like this is a $15 billion a year industry already. The CAGR on this is crazy. It's expected to be 23 billion by next year. And I know we all feel like, you know, we've had a phone in our pockets for 10 years and social media has been around for, you know, since 2004 and Facebook and whatnot. But the fact remains, like, this is a very nascent industry. The creator economy is huge and it's growing quickly. And I mean, if you think about things like the housewives, Trump, whatever it might be, you know, there's a lot of things that are good about the industry and there's a lot of things that cause a lot of problems and brand concerns. So, you know, for me, the way I see this as we grow is that, you know, one day in my mind, like, why can't a company like Bloomberg be tapping into our data to actually pull in the APIs to predict financial trends, right? Why can't a company like Nielsen, who hasn't changed in 100 years and has nothing like this on their radar, want to be able to tap in and actually get into this space? And why can't we predict the outcomes before the first influencer or any other type of marketing campaign is done without violating everyone's privacy? Because we're already able to take care of that. So for me, I think the future is in 10 years, you know, hopefully us and all of our investors are celebrating on Jeff Bezos's, you know, spaceship, because we've gone international and the returns have been, you know, phenomenal from an IPO that could potentially happen in our space for this. And why not us? Why not Kyndoo? You know, we have the technology, the data is ours, and I think we have a team to do that.
I feel like given recent events and, you know, just for context for people who may be watching this in the future, you know, Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos just blasted off together and seemingly was, you know, within the last 2 weeks or something like that. Right, really close together. Honestly, if one of you had said that we're going to expand into space next, I feel like I would have given you the $1,000 on the spot. But if some of you guys had noticed, I was stealthily trying to quickly count the votes because Typeform doesn't give you a count. So, you know, we'll hold on the audience vote for a little bit of suspense and suspension. But in terms of, for me, you know, I think that you know, just in terms of the biggest return on an investment between the three companies that are here, you know, Ronak, obviously, you know, with real estate, you know, it's very capital intensive, and that's probably my biggest concern about that, right? Because, you know, you can make an investment into an area, and that's a potential, you know, hard point there. So that would be a bit of my concern there. Young One, I love your brand. I think that it's really resonant, right? I just think that I want to see the performance on how, you know, coming out of the pandemic, I want to see like how that performance when you get into more retail and brick and mortar. And Kelly, I think, as you can probably narrow down, you are my winner. I think that influencer marketing is huge and that it's a really big space. I think that the verification of bad actors is something that's going to be very critically important, and I can see that being included in like a lot of major CMO workflows, right? And so yes, you will be getting the $500 award from me and the audience vote. Congratulations. Yes.
Awesome.
The audience vote, as I'm trying to stall and as I'm counting through all of these copious amount of votes, it looks like Dokkaebier has won the audience vote. So congratulations there. Yay.
Thank you.
So it looks like we're going to have $500 to Kelly for my portion of the 500, and then Dokkaebier with the other 500. Ronak, you know, would really love to support you as well. So I think that you're a really great company. I think people should definitely take a look at MedCoShare. I think everyone should take a look at Dokkaebier and Kyndoo as well. And, you know, hopefully everyone enjoyed the show, had a great time. Thank you, all three of you, for coming on to the show. The first prize that I'm actually putting out there, which was really fun. Hope everyone at home has a great rest of their evening, to the founders as well. And thank you all for coming. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.